The legend of Nazi Germany's armed forces remains one of the most enduring myths of World War II. Popular culture remembers the terrifying image of the sleek panther and the supposedly unstoppable blitzkrieg machine. German engineering became synonymous with technological superiority. Even today, military enthusiasts marvel at the sophistication of German armored vehicles. But there was one devastating problem. Germany could not build enough of them. The Third Reich's armored forces were chronically understrength. While German engineers pursued perfection, the United States pursued scale. The result was catastrophic for Germany. By 1945, Nazi Germany had produced roughly 46,000 tanks and self-propelled guns during the war. The Soviet Union alone built over 100,000 armored fighting vehicles. The United States added another 88,000 tanks and tank destroyers. This was not simply a military failure. It was an economic failure. At first glance, Nazi Germany appeared to possess one of the world's most powerful industrial economies. Companies like Krupp, Daimler-Benz, MAN and Henschel represented the peak of European heavy industry. But beneath the surface, the German economy was deeply unstable long before World War II began. One of the greatest weaknesses in German tank production was fragmentation. The Nazi system encouraged competing agencies, overlapping authority structures, and chaotic procurement systems. Hitler intentionally fostered rivalry between institutions to prevent any single organization from becoming too powerful. The result was a bureaucratic warfare. Army procurement offices competed with industrial firms. Political favoritism distorted production priorities. Engineers constantly redesigned vehicles. Production lines changed repeatedly. Instead of concentrating on a few reliable designs, Germany produced an astonishing variety of armored vehicles, and countless variants within each category. Every design required different components: transmissions, engines, suspension systems, ammunition, spare parts, and maintenance procedures. This destroyed economies of scale. By contrast, the Soviet Union aggressively simplified production. The T-34 became the backbone of Soviet armored warfare because it was standardized, rugged, relatively cheap, and easy to mass produce. Factories could produce enormous numbers using simplified manufacturing techniques. American industry took standardization even further. The United States mastered interchangeable parts and assembly line manufacturing decades earlier through automotive mass production. Companies like Ford and General Motors transformed tank production into industrial-scale output. The M4 Sherman was not the best tank of the war in technical terms, but it was reliable, easy to repair, transportable, and massively scalable. German tank design increasingly became an engineering competition detached from industrial reality. The Tiger tank became the ultimate symbol of this problem. On paper, the Tiger was terrifying. Thick armor, massive 88mm gun, long-range lethality, exceptional battlefield performance in ideal conditions. But the Tiger was economically disastrous. It weighed approximately 57 tons. It consumed enormous amounts of fuel. It required highly trained crews and maintenance teams. Its complex transmission and suspension systems frequently failed. Recovery vehicles struggled to tow it. Railway transport was difficult. Bridges collapsed under its weight. And most importantly, it was incredibly expensive. A single Tiger tank cost roughly twice as much as the Panzer IV and several times more than the Soviet T-34. Germany produced only about 1,347 Tiger I tanks during the entire war. The Soviet Union produced tens of thousands of T-34s. This was the central economic contradiction of German tank strategy. Germany optimized for battlefield performance instead of industrial sustainability. The Panther tank suffered similar problems. Although often considered one of the best medium tanks of the war, early Panthers experienced catastrophic mechanical breakdowns. Engines overheated, final drives failed, maintenance demands were extreme. German engineering pursued technical perfection while ignoring production efficiency. The United States approached the problem differently. American designers prioritized reliability, maintainability, and manufacturability. US tanks were designed for mass production. Factories could rapidly build them using standardized methods. Spare parts were interchangeable. Crews could repair many problems in the field. Standardization is one of the most important concepts in industrial warfare. Germany failed at it. Different German tank models used incompatible components. Spare part logistics became a nightmare. Field maintenance crews struggled with endless mechanical variations. Ammunition types differed. Engine designs differed. Transmission systems differed. Even tracks and road wheels varied enormously. This created massive logistical inefficiencies. German repair systems became overwhelmed. Tanks were abandoned for relatively minor mechanical failures simply because spare parts were unavailable. Workshops needed enormous inventories. Mechanics required specialized training across multiple vehicle families. This complexity compounded over time. By 1944, Allied bombing campaigns severely disrupted transportation networks and industrial supply chains. Germany's fragmented production system became increasingly vulnerable to disruption. Meanwhile, the Allies benefited enormously from standardization. The United States produced approximately 49,000 Sherman tanks using highly standardized systems. Spare parts moved effectively across global logistics networks. Repair crews could service vehicles quickly. Production remained stable even as factories expanded. American industry essentially treated tanks like automobiles. Germany treated tanks like handcrafted masterpieces. In modern business terms, the Americans built Toyota production systems. Germany built luxury prototypes. And luxury prototypes do not win industrial wars. When Albert Speer became Minister of Armaments in 1942, Germany's war economy was already under enormous strain. Speer recognized the production chaos immediately. He centralized procurement, streamlined industrial administration, reduced bureaucratic overlap, and simplified certain production processes. The results were dramatic. German armaments production surged between 1942 and 1944 despite massive Allied bombing campaigns. Tank production increased substantially. Aircraft output also rose sharply. At first glance, Speer appeared to perform an economic miracle, but the reality was more complicated. Much of the increase came from finally implementing basic industrial mobilization measures that Great Britain and the Soviet Union had adopted years earlier. That delay proved catastrophic. By the time Speer rationalized production, Germany already faced impossible strategic conditions. Allied strategic bombing, transportation collapse, skilled labor shortages, growing military losses, and American manufacturing dominance. Speer improved efficiency, but he could not reverse Germany's structural disadvantages. Even worse, Germany's obsession with advanced weapon systems continued. Hitler constantly demanded increasingly larger and more complex tanks. For example, the Tiger II consumed enormous industrial resources for minimal strategic return. The Allies eventually understood that Germany's real vulnerability was economic. Strategic bombing targeted industrial infrastructure, transportation hubs, synthetic fuel plants, and rail networks. The objective was not simply destruction, it was systematic paralysis. Every destroyed railway junction delayed deliveries. Every disrupted supply chain reduced operational readiness. Germany's fragmented industrial structure proved highly vulnerable to disruption. Meanwhile, Allied industrial output became overwhelming. By 1944, the United States alone produced more steel, more trucks, more ships, and more tanks than the Axis powers combined. This was not merely a technological contest, it was a scale contest. And Germany lost decisively. The collapse of Nazi Germany's tank production contains a timeless economic lesson. Systems matter more than individual products. The Germans built extraordinary tanks. The Americans built extraordinary production systems. The latter won. Modern economies still face the same trap. Companies, governments, and industries often become obsessed with technological sophistication while neglecting scalability, logistics, maintainability, and production efficiency. The best technology does not always dominate. The best system usually does. The Tiger tank remains legendary, but legends do not win industrial wars. Factories do. And in the end, the United States simply built more, moved more, repaired more, financed more, and sustained more than Nazi Germany ever could. That was the real battlefield. And that was the war Hitler's economy was never capable of winning. I hope you enjoyed this episode. To make sure you don't miss my future work, subscribe to my channel and press the bell notification button. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.